Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Transformed Tales, the podcast where we explore the power of change in our lives and communities. In each episode, myself, Brooke Addis, your host, will be chatting with inspiring individuals about the transformations they've experienced, whether in personal lives, careers, or the communities they serve. Today, I have Rex Harris with me, and I will let him do his own introduction.
Oh yeah. So Rex Harris. Right now, I'm the founder and AI product lead at an agency called Agents of Change, working on helping people make sense of AI and deploy it within their lives or personal or professional worlds. Prior to that, I was a product leader for the last 13 years. Been super fortunate to work at some pretty cool companies and products. Worked at Electronic Arts, worked at Amazon, working on Alexa, which we can talk a little bit about, as well as Pandora and a few startups that actually one of which brought me to Pittsburgh from the Bay Area about 3 years ago.
Nice, and you're happy to be here?
Love it, great city.
Well, thank you for that quick little intro there about
Yeah.
yourself and who you are and what you're doing right now. But let's go way back.
Okay.
Let's think back to when you were a child, maybe show and tell times. Did
Sure.
you think in your distant future you'd be doing what you're doing today?
Uh, sort of.
Okay. Love that. No one ever gives
Um,
me that.
Fair enough. Is anybody ever like, yes, exactly the thing?
A doctor.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think, maybe not like super atypical. Like through the childhood, I had a couple different maybe goals.
Mhm.
I think the first was I want to be an artist. I really, I always kind of like got into drawing and comic books and stuff, and I was drawing comic books with friends and stuff. And so I definitely like had a period of time where I thought I was gonna be an artist. And then I got my first computer, and then I got like super into that. So then all of a sudden I thought for sure I was gonna be like a computer programmer, or like a hacker. Tried to be a hacker. Um, and now I'm a product manager, which is, kind of like this amalgamation of both. I'm a very like mediocre artist slash designer, creative person. I'm an even less mediocre computer programmer, a little bit better with AI now, but so I like mashed them together. So that's my long-winded way of saying, yeah, kind of. Product manager is like a good sort of like in between.
I love that. I love that you were able to have an idea, see what happened. I'm sure you learned a lot of things along the way. And
Sure.
now looking back, it's like, yeah, actually, I did do that. It was me.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah. I'm stoked.
I mean, you're kind of a big deal around these parts.
I don't know about that. Um, but yeah, it's been a good ride.
Well, good. What is your favorite thing about what you're doing right now? This week, today, whatever, however you wanna focus that
Yeah.
in.
Um, so I feel kind of two things. One, I'm working in AI. I think it's super fun. Like it's just, I don't know. There's just like talk about kind of the childhood version of Rex. Like I just get those moments really frequently.
Mhm.
Just like kind of like the light bulb goes off, and you just get really excited and kind of giddy. Um, And then I also think that hopefully I'm, kind of, at the forefront of what will be a very transformative in a positive way. Without technology. And what I've been doing, for Agents of Change is I've been helping people deploy, AI within their business. And then I've also most recently been helping kind of like train people with like a program that I've created to help them actually like use no code tools to like build their own AI agents and really personalize the sort of like curriculum for them. And that's been incredibly rewarding because I get to see the stuff that I got giddy about and have been giddy about. I get to see like, others kind of have those moments, and it's very fulfilling. And also like then, I get these kind of reports back or testimonials of people who like are like, yo, this has totally changed how I think, not just like how I work, but like how I think about AI and how I think about what's coming with AI. And so, yeah, all the above. It's been
Really
fun.
good.
Yeah.
Fulfilling. Sounds like it's been fulfilling as well,
Yeah. It's been cool.
which is awesome. Well, I have to ask because, I knew this was coming. What about the AI naysayers? People that are just so against it? You think
Mm.
it's a perspective that needs to be changed? Do you think they need to realize it's a tool that can make things better for them? What you have any thoughts? We can also skip it.
No, no, no. No, I think it's a good conversation. I think it's one of those things where like I don't think any of us should blindly go into this thinking like it's just all going to work out. I mean, let's hope it does. But I think it's really important that we are aware of naysayers. We naysay ourselves in some ways, because otherwise we're going to be like going into this blind, and we're not going to take some of these concerns really seriously, which I think they should. Um, I It depends on like what naysaying means in this regard, because we've had kind of naysayers who say like the technology's a fad, the internet's a fad.
I don't think so.
Right. It seems very likely that it's not a fad. So I think for those naysayers, like, you gotta like use the stuff, dig in, you'll see pretty quickly. Come do training with me, and I'll show you very quickly how valuable it can be. Um, but then I think there's like the naysayers who are like, "Hey, this is gonna like end humanity," right? This
Yeah.
is the Terminator kind of the narrative. I think it's like we don't know, what's going to happen. This is definitely a technology, unlike so many other, kind of revolutions or transformations we've had before. So, what I would say to them is like, I think again, it's good to look at this critically and not just kind of accelerate and move forward at all costs. So, a lot of the work that I do with folks and helping them kind of unlock these like AI agents and build them for themselves. It's really trying to, kind of help them save time, streamline workflows, that kind of stuff. But like, there are always these moments where you hit a point where it's like, this is allowing you to be more, this seems cliche, but like more human because you get to like automate some of the stuff that technology has actually, put in front of us as like really menial, boring, mundane tasks, and it takes away from the stuff that we love doing, the interactions we have with humans. A great example is like, helping people who do sales not have to fumble around and spend an hour updating CRM, their CRM after a call, automate all that. In that way, what they can do is they can really focus on relationship building. They're not on a call worrying about getting the notes they need to put in the CRM. They're just having a free form conversation, a more fulfilling conversation with somebody, because then all of that sort of rote work gets automated away afterwards. And so it's a very like small example of where I think that leveraging or sort of the deployment of an AI agent actually allows you to have a more meaningful conversation with somebody and build more human relationships um, with those you work with.
I think you hit the nail right on the head because I know when we had originally met, you asked me what cool thing I was doing with that AI or if I was doing anything, and it
Yeah,
was taking my Twitter archive, which
that's right.
took days to download.
Yes.
And at this point, AI wasn't able to just, hey, let me put that all together and give you a cool look at your life through the scope of your Twitter account as how college went. And now that's something that I could get back in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And that's
And did you want to know what is college? What was the outcome of this? Did you look back with fondness of college age, Brooke, or were you like horrified?
so I did look back with
Both.
fondness, except the amount that I did not sleep. As an
Mm.
adult looking back, I'm like, wow, I know they say, sleep when you're dead, but I'm not sure how I lived on that little amount of
I used to
sleep.
work in sleep too. That's like a time where you like really need a lot of sleep. But yeah, a lot of people don't get it at that age.
No, you save it for I don't know, I guess when we're grown-ups. I
Yeah.
try to nap during the day if I can.
Tragically, as you get older, you need less sleep.
So I'm doing it all wrong.
That's why I think most people are. Yeah. But
That's
anyway,
fair.
conversations for another day.
Yeah, yeah, but just touching on that, how quickly these things have evolved, and I'm sure even from the first people that you had started fielding questions with
Yeah.
before Agents of Change was
Yeah.
even born. Like,
Yeah.
how did we get there? Where did you go, "Hey, I'm taking a break from corporate life to let's give this a whack?"
Yeah. So I was lucky enough. I got access to GPT-3, so it's like pre ChatGPT. Um, I had a very, uh, uh, sort of ahead of his time, smart colleague who was like, "Hey, I think we can like use this technology to, excuse me, we can use this technology to write a bunch of like copy in an automated fashion because we had hired somebody, or we were in the process of hiring somebody to do copywriting. And spoiler alert, turns out you can't just automate that stuff, especially if you want it to be good, even today. But anyway, so I got access, early access, and was playing around with it, and it was so hard to use. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like you really like the whole idea of prompt engineering like comes from that time because if you didn't labor, through some pain, um, you weren't really getting much. So when ChatGPT hit, that was obviously like a big, step up from what many of us have been kind of messing with. And I just captured everything about my technological, sort of fascination and imagination. I just went down like all the rabbit holes, and I have never stopped. So I'm down deep.
We're still
Um,
there.
and so yeah, so it's evolved, really quickly, as we know, which can feel overwhelming at times, even for some of us who are in it. But it has gone from this kind of like, to some degree, like glorified, Google search, sort of getting question answer to, this is stuff I work on. Is like do full tasks for you. If you set up the right kind of guardrails and the right system, it can do all these things for you and do it in a way that just does kind of feel magical in some in some ways, and also yeah, just it feels like there's something coming that is going to change the way in which we work. And again, hopefully positive.
I recently heard someone say that AI is like the Hogwarts of technology coming out.
Okay.
And I laughed as someone who read the Harry Potter books and, like, loved that whole era, and I was
Yeah.
like, "You mean because it's so captivating?" They were like, "Yeah, it's fascinating and magical, and it's wild how quickly it all changes." And I thought that was, like, a great way to look at it, obviously from a very positive light, but you're probably seeing it from both sides.
Sure.
You saw the beginning of, "Wow, I can't believe this is what they released, and they want me to use this. I need to go back and get a degree to
Yeah.
work this," to you're implementing in people's personal lives and
Yeah.
professional lives to make their day-to-day easier.
Yeah. Full admission, I've never read nor watched any of the Harry Potter series. I understand. Part of it was just
Wow,
yeah, part of it was just
okay.
I don't know. I would the age, I think it was just like, where I was. And then also I have a 6-year-old son and I'm kind of waiting
It's not
to
fun
like
yet.
well, no, I just yeah, well, he can't watch him yet, and I want to wait until he can so that we can kind of like enjoy it together. So it's not like something I've already seen that I'm kind of like somewhat maybe begrudgingly watching with him. It's like both of us are kind of experiencing it for the first time. I know everybody loves it. But anyway, so yeah, so the analogy is tough for me to get, but I think I get the spirit of it, and yeah, I mean, it has, the start to, the kind of like big transformation. Now, a bunch of people, especially in this town, who've been doing, machine learning, the AI before AI was the, sort of buzzword, um, saw this coming to some degree. The sort of like quintessential, piece of technology that has unlocked this era of AI is the transformer, and I think that paper was in 2017. So people were, I think, the people close to machine learning and data science were kind of saw this coming a little bit. But I think even there was a recent podcast with the product lead on ChatGPT. They didn't even know it was going to be this big,
Mhm.
um, which is, I mean, it's fascinating,
Blew
especially as a
Windows
product.
10 out of the water.
What's
It
that?
blew Windows 10 out of the water.
Yeah, I 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a like I said, it's been a ride.
What is your I don't know the best way to ask this. I guess in your day to day, when you're helping someone or you're teaching the course that you're now offering,
Yeah.
your least favorite part of it.
Mm.
Like, is there still a part where you're like, dang, maybe this will get better?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of things. Like, I think we're in this really interesting time where you go to ChatGPT and most of the things you get from that are like, you ask a question, it gives you a response, it can do some things for you, but mostly it's question, answer, or it's like text or voice, which we should talk about voice. I'm like such a huge proponent of voice. Um, go back to my Alexa days when I worked at Amazon, but there's no like go to ChatGPT and it's like, hey, I want you to, an hour before a meeting with a client, go and do a bunch of research about like that client and like look at the CRM to look up like the last thing that we talked about, next steps that I need to like report on, all that stuff. You can't go to ChatGPT and like just like ask for that, right? And that's the kind of stuff we build. That in particular, like that agent, hugely valuable for almost every single person, right? Like catch me up to speed so that like before a big meeting, I don't need to like block off time on my calendar, which I'm already, kind of underwater, just to do research for the meeting. It's like a meeting before a meeting. um, but in order to do that, you do kind of have to know how to your way around these kind of like even with no code, you got to know your way around these tools. And sometimes, just like every, kind of system, there are things you like want to do that you just kind of have to like bang your head against the wall and kind of figure out. Now, I don't mind that so much for me, but it's like a thing where, I want it to be as easy as possible for everybody else, right? And that's why I do the things that I do is I'm kind of like trying to help unlock this for people because we're in this like period of time where, at least for the next couple of years, you're going to have to if you really want this kind of value to be unlocked with AI, you got to put in a little bit of elbow grease, right? And so I'm trying to make it so that the elbow grease is, doesn't this analogies fall apart quickly, not as thick. I don't know. I don't know. But I think there's just kind of like we're in this like middle point where there's so much potential for AI, but it's not like something you can just ask for everything that you want and it just like happens. But
You've lived that though.
yes.
You I mean, being on some of the teams you were on, I'm sure you've experienced those exact same challenges in
Yeah.
product, and now you're up against it again. You're
Yeah.
hopeful.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah, hell yeah. And I'm like, you know, man, as a product, leader, been doing it for a long time, like blessing and a curse. When I use any product, and it's like, why'd you do that? Who made this decision? And it's a lot of things like that. I run into a bunch of sharp edges that, as a PM kind of cut me deeper than it should. But yeah, I think so that yeah, it's a long-winded way of saying, like, I think there's this kind of, like, gap still, and, to some degree, like, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's like I'm helping kind of bridge the gap for people, but, it's gonna be this incredible world that we live in where kind of, like, any idea you can just ask to come alive, and we're not there yet, and there are moments where it, like, feels like we should be, I think maybe that's a better way of kinda circling back and explaining this. It kinda, like, feels like it should just be there, and then it's, like, not
No.
yet.
Yeah. I
Yeah, what about you?
that's the exact feeling.
Yeah.
When you go to ask, it to do something or there's some stuff that we do internally as a company and, "Oh, this failed and this didn't link to this," and we're in
Yeah,
our marketing planning meeting and I'm like, "Well, now 15 people have to pull up the 5 different calendars and look at where."
sure.
So it's right there,
So close.
but it's not
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
So that's I think the best way to describe it. It's
yeah.
almost where
It's
we want it
almost
to
there.
be.
Yeah. I think, like, one of the I do a lot of theory in my course, not just, like, hands-on building for people. Um, and I start the course with, like, these different levels of kind of proficiency with AI and ways in which to think about it and kind of like a almost like video game, like you're leveling and start with like intuition. And that just means ideally get to a place where you're like, here's a task that I have in front of me. Intuition tells me I can automate this with AI, or I can just go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, or I can build, a little agent that'll kind of put it on autopilot. Those that intuition, I should say, those in those kind of moments, super valuable because and it's all through kind of trial and error and a little bit of like just kind of reading up on stuff, but it just saves you a bunch of time to like and frustration of like I know AI can't do this yet, or it can do it half the way. But if I think it can do it all the way, and I'm just like banging my head, now you'll eventually learn, which is important. But knowing that stuff ahead of especially other people, a little leg up gives you, the ability to kind of like be super effective and efficient with like how you use AI. And of course, 6 months later, things change.
You're obsolete.
So you have to be, willing to adjust constantly. Which
I think that's one of the hardest things for people with AI in general. I know AI is just such a buzzword, but it is constant change. And as
sure.
humans in general, that goes against everything that we enjoy.
Yeah, you gotta embrace change. I love change. So maybe this is part of the reason it's tailor
It's
made for
working for
me.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I mean, there's no like no other technology has been this dynamic that when it's changing, it's not like a protocol is changing or like, it's the way things are done is changing. I mean, that's part of it, but it's like you have new toys.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it feels like, okay, what new toys? And I think, GPT-5 just came out and, I think a lot of, mixed reviews. I've been using it and, I think it's a lot of people were hoping that they would have like very like new toys, very, different capabilities. And there are certain things that, can start to do in a way that, you couldn't kind of get earlier. But it's not like you can really point to like a bunch of new toys. I think that's why a lot of people were let down, myself. But I find it to be a good model. But I think the new toys thing, like we're getting maybe a little too, our expectations are a little high on wanting like new toys with every model release.
Well, let's talk about voice then. You brought it up. That's
Yeah,
been a big change in what is capable from, let's say, even 6 months ago to now. So
yeah,
tell me about what you're doing in voice or what you're excited about that you're seeing happen.
yeah. Okay, so the background on I worked on Alexa. I went to
Never heard
that.
of it. Could you go?
Yeah, yeah. Worked on Alexa at Amazon, and I took the role. I was fully bought in on Lisa, and he used these statements like the best UI is no UI, and the idea being there that like voice and natural language, pre kind of transformer stuff, LLMs, ChatGPT. The idea that like you being able to just kind of like say something and and not have to look at a screen, not have to articulate, in text, just kind of like blurt it out and it happens. And so I was really bought into that. And there was actually, something I worked on there, which was like this. Um, it was like a, a what's like a competition
Okay.
for developers working with the Alexa SDK. Basically, like had access to our kind of our code and stuff. And the competition was how long you could get a conversation to last between Alexa and a person
Oh.
until like Alexa basically like ran out of like ways to keep the conversation going. And it wasn't long. I mean, you're talking. We used to measure it by like turns of dialogue, and I can't remember what the max was. But I think it was like maybe in the 20s or 30s.
Oh.
Not long. You couldn't have a conversation with Alexa. I mean, even today, try it, like or Siri or Google Assistant. Like, you can't have a conversation. But that's always what we wanted. And when ChatGPT voice had come out, we'd been kind of, messing around with some stuff. At the point that I went, and you'd asked about, kind of when I left corporate life, or being on a team and doing my own thing. I'd worked at two different companies where I worked really early on using ChatGPT, like their API to build our own kind of like chatbot, if you will. Conversational AI is what I like to call it. It's a little more eloquent. Um, One was around sleep. So I worked at a startup here in Pittsburgh that made a smart mattress. It tracked all your vitals and stuff, all your sleep metrics, and then you could have a conversation with your sleep coach
Hmm.
to help kind of make sense of it, get some advice on how to like improve it, and then it could actually control the bed and do cool stuff, which is neat. There, we always like envisioned voice as a great interface because if you think about it, you're in your bed. You want, let's say, the bed could get like firmer or softer, however you wanted it. You can kind of adjust it. Like, hey, like I want the bed to be softer. You don't want to like pull out your phone. Dark room. Voice would be a natural. Um, and so we started playing around with that. And then the next role I had after that, we built it was at a nutrition company. We built a kind of like a dietitian. Similar, so many different use cases where you don't want to like sit and tap at a screen. You want to like have a conversation like you would with a dietitian. Right? You with a dietitian, you have a conversation. I've always been a big fan of these kind of like conversational experiences. I'm also a talker, like you, and so that all just kind of like culminates in this session I've had over the last call it year or so with conversational experiences with voice. And right now, I'll tell you, I pay $200 a month for ChatGPT, which is insane.
You're still doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You're
Because
locked
I
in.
the reason I pay $200 a month is because I always run out of voice minutes. And if you're
Oh.
paying the $20 a month, you only get so many voice minutes. And I always go over. I mean, I go over like within the first week because I love walking and I love walking and talking to ChatGPT and getting work done. And so this is my new kind of like thing is like I want to see how much work I can get done when I'm walking.
Okay.
And give you like an example. I'm redoing my website for the agency, little plug. But I'm redoing all the copy, and I literally took landing page copy best practices, like a guide that I like. um, and then I took like my old website, like the link to it, and then I took some documents I've created around the agency about like what I do, what I stand for, the kind of things I help people achieve. Loaded all those up, and then told ChatGPT, now I'm going to switch to voice, and we're going to talk through and write a copy for the website. And then I walked. I mean, there was one day where I put in about 30,000 steps and talked for hours. And then by the end of it, I have literally all the copy written for the website in V1. I do this as a product manager. I do this with PRDs, product requirements documents. And it's just, there's this term called context engineering. It's kind of like this new fuzzy term, I guess, that's kind of overtaking prompt engineering. And it's about knowing what data and sort of context to pull into, a chat. And so what I try to do is I try to like pull all the context together that would be necessary for the AI to accomplish this task for me. And then I try to accomplish it on a walk with just like a lot of back and forth. And I love it. I think it's like transformative. Driving here, prepping for the podcast, I was, kind of like having a long conversation back and forth about kind of like some of the stuff that, I want to cover and kind of help people understand it through this conversation.
You really one upped the let's get you a standing desk, and you said, let's take our work on the road.
Totally.
I have so many questions about that, but that's another
Okay.
conversation.
Okay.
Um,
Well, that's my plug to everybody. Like, if you
yeah,
haven't used ChatGPT voice mode, Gemini has it too.
get in there.
Yeah, give it a shot. Yeah.
Do you find it obviously for you, it seems like it's quicker, better, you can multitask. Do you think there's a large population that would feel the same? Like people who like to converse, or especially if you're working from home and you don't have somebody to bounce ideas off
Sure.
of?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably a special case on like the sheer volume of like,
Yes.
yeah. um, I mean, I literally did have a week where, I think it was like something like 70,000 steps. And I also, you asked me what I think of Pittsburgh. I love it. And I love walking around here. I live in Regent Square, right by Frick Park. And, I know all the dead zones now where I should not be walking if I'm having a long chat with ChatGPT. I don't think it's for everybody. I do think, though, there are certain scenarios where I think everybody should, be trying voice. One is when you just, AI is really good at kind of finding signal through amongst a bunch of noise. And what I mean by that in this context is you can just ramble. Okay, I had an old colleague that I was, kind of, I wanted her, she should try voice. And, when she did, she got back to me. She's like, it was a big unlock for her because when we converse with humans, we always feel this pressure to be like articulate and not repeat ourselves and like, sound smart. This doesn't matter with AI. Say whatever the hell's on your mind, do it brain dumb. And so that doesn't necessarily mean you need to walk around and have a back and forth, but even just using like a dictation platform for like a prompt where you just like you have a thing that you want AI to do for you or answer for you or write for you, and you just like press the record button and just ramble on. And then when you're done, hit submit, and you will be absolutely astounded at how well it takes your, incoherent babble and make it into something really meaningful and valuable for whatever you're trying to do. So I think everybody should be kind of getting those moments. If not, use it as an excuse to walk more,
You know
I
how they
guess.
do, photography walks where, like, people in that community will say, like, "Hey, meet here. We're all gonna take pictures so you're not alone."
Oh,
Like, you
yeah,
do
sure, sure, sure.
this is, like, in my head, I envision, I'm like, "Alright, Rex will be at Frick Park, and we will both be doing a ChatGPT
But I
scroll."
won't t but I won't talk to you, but unlock product idea that needs to be created is multiplayer. When we're in
Yeah.
a conversation, and people are working on it. Some of my friends I know, are working on that. But I think that's a new frontier of like being able to kind of have that like multiplayer experience where we're in a conversation amongst three of us right now, but it's just not quite there.
Maybe I missed it. Maybe we have to come back in 6 months. Maybe we'll be there. Maybe ChatGPT leads the entire discussion of the
Or
podcast.
somebody locally has built it and we're beta testing it, or I've built it. I don't know, but
There
yeah,
you go.
I agree.
That could be it.
That could be one of your new formats.
Oh, could you imagine? That seems like it could get out of hand in a good way.
Yeah, totally.
Things that you'd be like, "I was not expecting to answer this today."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Or just like getting challenged, or just kind of like, especially in work context, the idea of like, hey, what did we say last week? You're like in a real time meeting and being held
Yeah.
accountable, that kind of stuff.
Would love to see it in that specific scenario in the court of law. That would be
Yeah, yeah. Roll the tape back.
yeah. You what would happen to those, all those lovely people,
Stenographers.
yes, that learn to type so very quickly in shorthand?
And I think that's already probably a
Yeah.
a a role that's, yeah, maybe, feels a little pain from. Yeah, I mean, like, the ability to get these transcriptions is pretty incredible.
Yeah. Um, so you've done a couple different things now, and when you're looking back on your career, when you started one, not way back to your childhood,
Yeah.
do you think your overall definition of what success is has changed?
Yeah, probably in, like, very cliche ways. Um, when I was
Time over
younger.
money, yeah.
Yeah, like titles. Well, it's funny, like, right out of college, I kinda struggled for a little while. I was living in Chicago. I kinda struggled for a little while to actually get, like, a career, start a career. working my butt off, but like no like career job. And then there was a moment where I remember talking to my mom, who's always been kind of like my confidant, who was, a successful career woman. I told her like, I just want to, do good in the world. I don't care about making money. Maybe I'll just, volunteer. It's kind of like, a little bit of like rationalization for like me not being able to find success. Then I started a career. I busted ass and I did well. And then it became, title and money started, of course, being the thing. And then as you get older, and this is where the cliche parts comes in, is like now, like what success looks like. Am I working on really fun, exciting stuff with cool people? Because I am social, and so like, am I on a good team? People I respect and admire, and are we working on problems that are exciting? Hopefully, because I like to think I'm not evil. They have some, semblance of doing good in the world. But yeah, I think that's kind of the definition of what.
Personally, I feel very much the same way as how success by definition evolves. I think it's, like the age and wisdom comes and you
Sure.
learn, but, like having a family or people in your life that you want to see on a regular basis, it definitely affects like, do you want to be spending 80 hours a week at work? Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a workaholic, so there's, work life balance might not be like, shout out to my family. I think I do a good job of, but there's definitely work life balance to me is a little like
Or
nebulous,
okay.
but I do get it, and I think the everybody's different, and I think build more upon what you're saying is like, regardless of the hours, it's like who are you showing up as with your family? Are you showing up as somebody who's bitter and like it's like, you know, F this job, and like all these people. And it's like that's a different level of not being present, right? Maybe you're physically present. You're only working 40 hours, but are you mentally present? Well, you know, somewhere in between all of that.
Yeah. I hate the one person drains all the life out of you. You're like, man, I just wanted to have one moment of, but yeah,
Totally.
I see what you're saying. Um, so let's talk a little bit about Pittsburgh. You're
Yeah,
here, you're doing things. It's been a great place for you to kick off your own business.
it has. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
tell me, do you think it would have went differently if you were still on the West Coast?
Um, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure. So yeah, I kind of touched on this and then didn't fully come back to it. The reason I decided to go fully on my own for I gave myself this kind of moment is I knew that I wanted to keep going down these rabbit holes, and satisfying a little bit of like my own curiosity as I was like kind of determining what my kind of understanding of this technology is and all the different ways. And I thought it'd be useful and for me and for others. And so I knew that I had to kind of do that, on my own, if I really wanted to like explore all these paths simultaneously. Um, so I think like I probably would have done that there too. I think the success. I've been fortunate, knock on wood, with the freelancing thing. Hopefully, it's not just luck. It has to do with kind of the value I bring to folks. But I don't think that would have changed. But I do think the the energy and the sort of like scrappiness and the focus on like often I'll tell people like I build like practical AI. And I think a lot of that is grounded in kind of the culture of the city and the people in it, which I'm originally from Chicago. So like not too far away in terms of, don't call Pittsburgh the Midwest. I got my hand slapped quickly on that one when I first moved here, even though there's a very, big overlap in ethos and sort of culture. But I do think that is really works for me and for the folks that like this community that I have here, especially around AI. Shout out to community that you're now a part of called AI at Work. Bunch of AI builders who are just here getting together, talking on a regular basis to help each other kind of like figure out, through trial and error what's working, what's not working. I think that community would be different in
Okay.
the West Coast. I think the approach that I would take maybe would be a little less practical and therefore maybe a little bit too pie in the sky and not as like valuable to everybody on a day-to-day basis, which is what I'm helping people with. But maybe that would change, but I still would have like gone off on my own and like needed to kind of scratch this itch.
Well, I'm glad you did it here.
Thank you.
I think there's a large part of the community that feels the same. Your name comes up in a lot of rooms when you are not there in the best of light. So,
Right on.
yeah.
It's always kind of scary to hear, but the second part of that sounded
No, no,
good.
no. Yeah, when you're not around, you should
Yeah,
hear what I
right.
say
I
about
know.
you. That's why I've never sent you an introduction to anyone.
Well, I do appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. It's really nice to hear.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
it's a good crew here. We love the city. It's been everybody, that we've not even just professionally, personally, our family has felt really, really at home here. And um, yeah, the so much to offer in this city in relation to some of the other places I've lived. So very grateful.
I have to ask, the draft is coming here next year.
I know I saw the countdown.
Yeah, it's
It,
pretty cool that they set that whole thing
it
up.
is actually very cool.
But I don't know, like, will that
That was
structure
smart.
remain and they just make it like the time or what's gonna happen next?
I don't know.
But do you think what's happening with the draft, like in the city of Pittsburgh and how much infrastructure is changing and like businesses are being reevaluated, do you think that's gonna play a role in any of the AI things? I mean, there's a ton of AI and robotics things happening
Yeah.
here. Do you think it's gonna like accelerate and or hinder? Is it such a short time frame?
Um, I don't know. I will not, pretend like I'm, much of a like, civil economics. I don't even know what like the term for this would
Yeah.
be. Yeah, I read that book and like the podcast called Freakonomics. So maybe it's something like that. There's like some ripple effects here that you're pointing to or kind of asking about. I have no idea, but I do know that right now this city is continues to crush it with um, propelling AI forward and sort of bringing the sort of talent and to some degree the sort of investment. Um, and I think it's so much of it is because of the people. It's because of that ethos of like, AI not to replace people, but AI to augment people, AI to, from a practical standpoint, sort of make the work we do more meaningful. People here really care about people, not just sort of like, you know, like techno lust, which fortunately and fortunately to some degree, you do get kind of in the Bay Area. There's a lot of techno lust, a lot of like technology in search of problem or yeah, technology in search of problems where I think, this is the kind of city where it's like, no, we start with problems. Technology, is built to solve those. And like, there are a bunch of groups that are doing incredible things that we get to benefit from. I get to benefit from as I go down this path and, our community goes on this path.
Oh, without a doubt, we're in a really good area too. I mean, just geographically, with the amount of education in this
Sure.
specific area that's even like there's new degrees popping up of the
Sure.
colleges based off of what's currently happening, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I just had someone recently ask me about their son who graduated with a computer science degree and what I thought
Okay.
their job opportunities were going to look like for Q4 of this year.
Yeah.
No, it's like I don't have great news. I
Yeah.
said I think a lot of moving parts are happening in all different aspects of the world we live in,
Yeah.
but I think the job market is being drastically affected and
Yeah.
people are being very safe.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm no economist, but it's hard to know if that's like all AI related or it's like post ZERP, like this kind of spend, uh, you know, gluttony of spend or whatever that was happening, kind of last handful of years, and now we're like this is a contraction. and it's natural, or it really is like AI is like replacing jobs. You know, software engineering specifically, I think if you're not using AI and you're not even like using AI, if AI doesn't excite you, you're probably screwed. Um, because this is a technology that is, as we're talking about, it's very transformative, doesn't feel like it's a fad, and it rewards curiosity like no other, which is why it's so fun.
It
um,
wants to learn.
yeah, and it's just like you have so much to learn. You have so much, you get so much value out of tinkering. Like
Mhm.
tinkering really pays off in AI, and so if you're in software engineering, that's the place where it's the gains are happening the most with AI. AI sort of augmented coding. And if you're not curious enough to be like stoked, like playing with these tools, and you're just kind of like, I think that's where people are going to be really challenged. But yeah, you look at the numbers; they're not very hopeful. No, would that be a short term thing? I'm not sure, but I do think if I don't think you were asking for advice, but I guess I'm sort of
We'll take it.
giving it. It's like that curiosity, um, and just playing with it. Yeah, because using it's not enough. Um, Using it is definitely important, but if you really want to be able to kind of see a future in which this becomes a big part of your job and sort of what you do day to day, curiosity is like the biggest thing because you're just think you're gonna enjoy it, and that's gonna lead to good things.
I'm glad I don't have a computer science.
I don't know, actually. If you had a computer science degree, now, especially if you'd been in the business for a little
Maybe
while,
maybe it is
then
time.
because I mean that is the thing. It's like the people who are the most challenged are the kind of junior, inexperienced developers. Because what if you've been around the block, you're a senior developer and or a staff developer. What you know how to do is use AI to automate, and do a bunch of the like grunt work for you, which enables you to do a lot more of the high judgment, kind of high agency work that requires more kind of like almost like an architect's kind of brain that AI can't do yet. And so it's like you get to do the kind of like fun, really like stuff. AI does all the like scripting and all the like stuff that you would begrudgingly do, procrastinate on.
Because you have to. Not because you want
100%.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's split then. We'll see what happens when Q4 closes out and we get into 2026 where everybody's at.
Yeah.
Has there been one person specifically, and you can answer and say yourself if you'd like,
Duh.
that has helped on this path, like get you where you are now?
Well, I saw that would be highly narcissistic.
Well, not necessarily. I mean,
Say myself.
yeah.
It's funny that that was even like you could say yourself. One person this got me down this.
Yeah, that has kind of impacted like where you've ended up here in this journey of, hey, let's build Alexa to, hey, like let's build a tool for you. Let's spend $200 a month on
Yeah,
ChatGPT.
yeah. I don't know if there's like one person. I would say it's maybe this is a cop out answer. At least it's not saying myself because I wouldn't actually say myself. But I think it's the so it is kind of like the AI community. So like, Twitter. You mentioned Twitter. I had been off Twitter for a long time. When I used to work in advertising, I ran a bunch of like social media accounts for clients because I was kind of like the emerging media guy as social media was taking off, and then got super burnt out on social media in general because I was like doing it for a profession. Was like but AI got me back on Twitter, and there's just so much fun, excitement, happening there, and so much like sharing openly of like again, like the AI at work community. Shout out to that team, that crew. Like it's just like a bunch of people who are just like openly sharing what's working, what's not working, and like I don't know, there just seems to be this like energy of like we're all helping each other. We're all kind of like um you know how there's like a lot of podcasts about comedians talking about comedy?
Yes. Yes.
Almost all of them have these like, oh, this is the group I came up with, and we all, go back to this era of comedy and but I feel like we're kind of like that with AI right now. It's like we're all kind of like we're all nose down, trying a bunch of different things and we're sharing openly. There's not, obviously there's kind of like there's competition and stuff, but so many people in social and now thankfully gratefully here in Pittsburgh with our community, um people just like wanting to share and sort of like push our understanding of what the technology can or cannot do forward. And so that's what's really like has driven me over the last few years, is like kind of tapping into that community and then in some ways like kind of foster it.
I was gonna say that also just is actual community instead of saying like, "Here's this community of people you can come." When you're all actively participating
Yeah.
and contributing, then it feels like what you just described.
Yeah.
Um,
Our Slack channel is bumping. You have an open invite. You haven't gotten in there yet, but I know
did you
to
check
add
that
another
out before?
to add another Slack channel. Well, of course I know. I mean, there's
No, I
probably
get
like
it.
20 of us that are like super active, and it's hella fun.
Yeah,
Hella fun. There's my
I'm
Bay Area, buddy.
I love Slack, so I should probably get on.
Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
should. Because it's just everybody's sharing stuff openly, and also just having fun, like doing stupid stuff, silly things. If you remember one of our last events, like I make all these like Pittsburghese lo-fi hip hop, tracks on Suno that if you want, I can link to your audience.
Please do.
And we're running the gamut of like what this technology can do and just sharing openly. It's really awesome. It's inspiring.
It's inspiring, and I like that it hasn't become too it's still fun.
Yes.
It hasn't gotten to the point where you're like, "Man, I don't wanna go to that because last time we spent 45 minutes talking about this and I didn't get to." Like, it's a very
Yeah.
open and accepting group of
Yeah.
people. Like, you've
Oh yeah.
curated a really good group. Like,
Yeah.
there's I don't know how else to say it because
Yeah.
there is
Thank you.
some level of exclusivity because you can't just have everyone in every room all the time,
Yeah.
but I think you've tried to balance having a good mix
Yeah. Thank
really
you.
well.
Kip Mueller is my partner on it, and we do that purposely. We'd love to include everybody. The exclusivity part is really just so that it's people who are actively trying to build stuff and therefore can share
What they're doing.
tips and tricks that they've learned to and so like anybody you are sitting next to an event or you're on Slack, like that they have a little bit of like trial and error that on maybe something you haven't tried yet, that you can kind of like kind of glean some insights from. And so I think shout out to Jen Sadesky and like PGH.ai. Like they do, a lot of stuff too in this community. And we're kind of like, friends in that regard. But they, have like a lot of like, folks who are like AI curious. And they do a good job of, I think, really um, kind of being a sort of waypoint for them. And they also go deeper too. But ours is like really just like people who are already pretty deep in
In
it,
it, yeah.
um, because we're hoping that like the tips and tricks can be shared amongst everybody. Everybody can kind of contribute to the conversation. So anybody who's building with AI, 100%, come check us out.
This has been great. You're so fun. I
Right
just
on.
love I
Likewise.
just
Thank you.
I
It was
just
fun.
even from the first time we met, you're just easy to speak with and talk to
Right
and,
on.
fun
Yeah,
stuff.
thank you.
What are the big things that we have to be on the lookout for with you this year as it wraps up going into a new one? What do you wanna? Because I know the website's under construction.
Yeah,
Some big
yeah.
things
By
are
the time this
happening.
comes out, the new website will
Yep, and
be.
we'll have it linked. We'll have it linked.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a big one. So I've been freelancing now for about a year. I've done a bunch of different things. Turns out, this kind of like, hands-on training has been, really valuable for people and really rewarding for me. I every course that I or everybody I take through, like we build like a very bespoke, like personalized, sort of agent for what they need. And so it's really fun. It's like kind of win-win because it also like pushes my, skill set and, forces me to, to teach is to learn twice, kind of thing. And so that's been really fun. So anybody who's, kind of wants to go a little past ChatGPT and actually have, AI do things for them and save time and, really do more meaningful work, hit me up. Other than that, AI at work, the community, if you're a builder, definitely check us out. Other than that, you will probably see me riding bikes around town because I love commuting via bike all around Pittsburgh. And so if you ever want to go on a ride, let me know. That's my last plug.
And definitely
This,
get connected on LinkedIn because
yeah,
you are an active user, which I love.
I need to get back on. I've been on a hiatus. I don't know if you've seen.
I have too. So I missed your
That's
hiatus
right.
because I was on a
Yeah.
hiatus.
It was I was posting every day for 6 months. That was my like goal, and it's a grind. So I got to find a nice happy medium. But yeah, there's a good community on there, um, and a lot of the stuff I post on there is very similar to the kind of work I do, which is like, how do I help people kind of understand some of this stuff and go a little deeper than just kind of interfacing with ChatGPT.
This is great.
Yeah,
This is just,
well, thank you for having me. This is fun.
like first episode in the new studio.
Yo,
It's
this
Studio
studio
Me.
is so dope.
Shout out to Peter and the team here, Keith, everybody.
Yeah, this is a real treat.
Well, do you have anything you want to say in closing before I end us off here?
Yeah, I think like this is something that I've been reminding myself of, especially during this period of time. Um, Everything's moving so fast. Recently, to take a step back, like recently, my son was going in, he's going into first grade, but when he was going into kindergarten, I was teaching him how to read before kindergarten started. And it was during that time where like, I was also like really, kind of getting deeper and deeper with AI. And I remembered, or it was like kind of like reconfirmed this adage that like, incremental progress compounds over time. And I think because you see a lot of headlines around AI, like doing one shotting an entire app or, creating a complete marketing campaign, with one prompt, it's like, it doesn't really happen that way. I want everybody to like remember that like incremental progress compounds over time. And it's something that I think I got to keep reminding myself. Like I made a little bit of progress today. I didn't like shortcut to the end. Like over time, that stuff really pays off. And like I said, I saw it with my son. Like it was just like wow, like with teaching him phonics, and all of a sudden, like wow, he can read, right? And I feel the same way with like AI. It's like you push yourself a little bit, and then over time, you're like, oh shit, I kind of know what I'm doing. And it's a good reminder. I mean, I think we all kind of know that, but I think it's just one of those things that's good to get reminded and kind of have something that shows you, yeah, it's okay. As long as I'm making some progress and I'm in a good place, I don't need to like be, sort of distraught that I'm not like there right away.
Yeah, AI is not even there yet. Well,
Yeah, that is actually a great point.
Yeah. So
Well done.
it can't, we'll catch up. Plus, we're smarter than AI, no matter what anyone tells.
We have better judgments and we have a better sense of what humans want, which is who we serve and we do work for. So smarter though? No, we're not smarter.
You knew where I was going.
I did.
You knew what I meant.
I did.
Well, this was incredible. I'm gonna send us off here.
Yeah,
Thank you again for being on.
Okay.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Transform Tales. I hope this discussion has inspired you to consider the transformations in your own life. I'm Brooke Addis, reminding you the next chapter might be your best one yet. Until next time, keep evolving.